adherence to the ethical standards. As an intern from the overall Dakota College, my contribution for this study is to collect and replace the filters along with site maintenance for all three of our locations here on the Cheyenne River Reservation. That's one in Eagle View, South Eagle View, and then in Timber Lake. At each site, we have a purple air sensor that relays real-time data, air quality data, and a MerPass passive mercury collection unit. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to George, and he can talk a little bit about our findings and our filters.
Yeah, thank you. So this work was done for the US EPA under a grant that Keya Foundation applied. And basically, what we did was monitoring very similar to what the EPA does in Bismarck, North Dakota, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, but in between those cities, no information. So really the purpose of this was to fill that gap and do some EPA type quality air monitoring for metals in the air. And what we found was, in fact, the composition of the particles were quite different from what's measured by the EPA in the cities. We saw much more of the crustal elements, which you might expect with agricultural, with calcium and silicon in it, and less sulfur from fossil fuel burning like diesel, whereas the cities had more of the sulfur. So there was a real contrast, I think, between the metals exposures in the Cheyenne River Reservation than what the government was measuring elsewhere. So that was really a big purpose, was to try and we're continuing to analyze those samples to learn more. And we also were monitoring for mercury vapor. Esther was going to talk about that.
Sure. Yes, so this comes from our collaboration since 2008. I've been very blessed to be part of the research work. And the community concerns on mercury contamination to the drinking water source across the reservation. We also later figured that were also sites that are very high in arsenic exposure. So these concerns are stay continuously, despite the fact that US EPA monitors now the drinking water source for the tribe in an extended fashion. But we are concerned, and Marsha always tells me, try to look at this in different other ways, and one is to try to find metals also in the air, right? So that's why we teamed up. As you heard, there are analytical capacities to do so, but we focus on mercury because that part of not just the water contamination, but also fishing. Right, so these are traditional activities we want to enhance in the tribe. Fishing is very healthy, eating fish, as well as provides zinc, for example, that's very important for genetic stability. It helps the genetic material repair. So it's good, and we would like to enhance that activity. But as I was told by chairman many times, my job was to create a safety guidance for that, not to discourage people to eat fish, right? But we would like to understand how metal exposure and their complexity affect the community. So the MerPass data is up there in the left side, and you can see there are variabilities in it. If you see the curve, I think I can, yeah, you can pull it. So what the variability is interesting is we thought, because Dr. Thurston worked many years on trying to identify coal burning overall in the United States, how that affects air quality and health. But we were looking into if mercury is part of a coal burning process, not just on the reservation homes, but also affected by Canadian power plants, also in Wyoming and in Montana, right? So downwind, a possibility that people are exposed to metals through those air transportation. sources. But we actually find that mercury levels were higher during the non-heating season. So that's brought us to the next step and what we like to do with it, and I'll give it back to future work about that.
Good. Yeah, go to the next slide. One of the things that, of course, impacted our sampling was the fact that there were wildfire episodes throughout the year. Really, the wildfire season has expanded, right? You will know. And so what we saw was that when these then there was some local, like the Dakota fire, that affected the monitor. Then more often it was transported from Canada down. And what we saw is, if you look over the left, you can see almost, that's the normal pollution. And then during the wildfires, it went up to like 10, 20 times as high. These are hourly concentrations of particles in the air over the days of this wildfire. And there were multiple wildfire incidents. So that's something that we documented, and actually we're still, Keya Foundation's continuing the sampling, so you can look it up on the internet by going to the Keya Foundation site. And also we have a weather monitor that we put in there that helps improve weather forecasting because it's linked to NOAA. And so that should continue after the end of this study. And looking to the future, Keya Foundation, working with us, have applied to the EPA for a new grant we're hoping to get to do more awareness and monitoring and implementation in health centers of HEPA filtration systems to try and reduce exposures to the wildfires. So let me just put that in, and then we're hoping to do some subsequent work to try and improve on the air quality and our ability to try and avoid the exposures in the future.
All right, and with that, we're just gonna wrap up here. So thank you everyone for coming today and for participating in this. And thank you to Missouri Breaks, of course, for letting us participate today, and for the booth yesterday, and just really all of the organizers that put time and effort, and I'm sure months of planning into what a great event it has been. So round of applause for all of the organizers and presenters. Thank you so much. And of course to our partners at UNN and NYU and OLC for all of their hard work and dedication to our communities. And we just really appreciate being able to come here today and hope that it's a good lunch. All right, thanks.